The tibia and fibula. Rule number 1, do not call the tibia the tibula, and do not call the fibula the fibia. The next rule is that the tibia is going to be more medially located, whereas the fibula is more lateral. So there's a mnemonic for that, for the location of the tibia and fibula. The fibula is lateral. The tibia is medial. You'll also notice the difference in size. The tibia is weight-bearing. So you'll notice that the tibia articulates with the femur. So all the force coming down from the body into the femur goes into the tibia. The fibula does not articulate with the femur. So that bone is more of a balancing bone. In fact, you can fracture the fibula and you can typically still walk. At the proximal end of the tibia, there are condyles, medial and lateral condyles. Those condyles articulate with the femoral condyles to form your knee joint. Just distal to them is a tuberosity, the tibial tuberosity. That is the attachment site for the patellar ligament, which comes from the patella and attaches to that site on the tibia, known as the tibial tuberosity. If we move distal, we see that the tibia is going to articulate with the talus, which is going to be a tarsal. On the medial surface, there is a bump there known as the medial malleolus. Malleolus means little hammer or mallet. That's that bump on the inside of the ankle that you feel. Moving over to the fibula. The fibula has a proximal head that attaches and forms a joint with the tibia, called the tibiofibular joint. The proximal tibiofibular joint. When we move distal, the fibula articulates with the tibia again. This would be the distal tibiofibular joint. And the fibula also articulates with the talus. So both of these bones are going to attach to the talus, which is again one of your 7 tarsals. Therefore, final slide to learn the rest of the bones, the tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. There are 7 tarsals, so there's one less tarsal than there is carpal. The first one we learn is that talus. And you'll notice there are some articular surfaces here. These are all covered with cartilage. The tibia is going to articulate here. The fibula is going to articulate right here. So that's pretty important in that the talus is the tarsal that your tibia and fibula articulate with. The next one is known as the calcaneus. That one you may have heard of. The calcaneus is your heel bone. This is an anterior view. Here is the inferior view. And you can see that that's your heel, your calcaneus. So we have talus, calcaneus. Then we move distal. Distal to the talus is the navicular. Navicular means small boat. If you look closely, it's somewhat shaped like a boat. Distal to the calcaneus is the cuboid, named after its shape, cube-shaped. Then there are 3 bones that are all known as cuneiforms. The word cuneiform means wedge-shaped. It's kind of reminiscent of a wedge that you would use to hold a door open. It's a bit wider on the top surface, and then it comes to a point on the bottom surface, so it's wedge-shaped. And those are typically named based on their position. We have the medial, also known as the first cuneiform, the second or intermediate cuneiform, and the third or lateral cuneiform. So those are the 7 tarsals. Then we move distal and we have metatarsals. Those are in your feet. Metatarsal 1 being your big toe side of the foot. Metatarsal 5 being your little toe side of the foot. And then just like your finger bones, the bones in your toes are phalanges that we give directional terms: proximal, middle, and distal. I will also note that your hallux, or big toe, or great toe, only has a proximal and a distal. There is no middle. There is a mnemonic that may or may not be useful. Tall centers never take shots from corners. I don't like this mnemonic. This is in reference to basketball and not a foot. It also irks me because I was a tall center and played basketball, and I always took shots from the corner of the court. But that might help you remember the names of the tarsals. That's going to end the appendicular skeleton and therefore end the entire skeleton.